History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. The fragile democracies of the Weimar Republic and post-colonial Latin America are haunting reminders that when economic chaos and political extremism collide, the road to authoritarian rule becomes dangerously short. Economic instability as a catalyst. The Weimar Republic's economy was on life support almost from the start. After World War I, Germany was burdened with massive war reparations, hyperinflation, and a fragile banking system. This set the stage for the Great Depression, which devastated the German economy. By 1932, unemployment had reached an alarming 44%, leaving millions in poverty and creating widespread social unrest. In Latin America, many nations faced similar crises during the 20th century, including massive debts and hyperinflation. These economic hardships led to public disillusionment with democratic institutions, paving the way for authoritarian regimes promising stability. It's a grim reminder that economic despair can push societies into the arms of despots who offer simple solutions to complex problems. Polarized political landscapes. The Weimar Republic's political scene was a chaotic battleground of ideologies. The extreme left and right viewed democracy as an obstacle rather than a path forward. The Nazi Party and the Communist Party both sought to overthrow the democratic system, leaving centrist parties struggling to maintain order. This polarization made it nearly impossible to form stable coalitions, resulting in a paralyzed government. In post-colonial Latin America, the struggle was often between leftist movements, advocating for radical social reforms, and conservative elites, defending the status quo. This ideological tug-of-war often led to military interventions and the establishment of authoritarian regimes. The takeaway here is clear. When political actors see each other as enemies rather than opponents, democracy is at grave risk. The role of external forces. External forces often served as accelerants to the internal crises faced by these fragile democracies. For the Weimar Republic, the Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh economic penalties, severely weakening Germany's economy and sowing resentment among its citizens. The global economic downturn further isolated Germany, leaving it vulnerable to extremist ideologies. In Latin America, the Cold War era saw the United States and the Soviet Union meddling in domestic affairs, supporting coups, and fostering instability to advance their geopolitical agendas. This interference often undermined democratic movements, replacing them with authoritarian regimes more aligned with the interests of these superpowers. The involvement of external powers highlights how geopolitical interests can exacerbate internal divisions, turning nations into pawns in a larger global game. Authoritarian takeover and propaganda. Adolf Hitler's rise to power was not merely a result of economic and political chaos. It was also a masterclass in propaganda and psychological warfare. The Nazi Party skillfully exploited Germany's economic woes, using rhetoric and media to portray itself as the only force capable of restoring national pride and economic prosperity. The party also deployed paramilitary groups like the SA to intimidate and eliminate opposition. Similarly, Latin American dictators often use propaganda to legitimize their rule, portraying themselves as saviors of the nation in times of crisis. They controlled the media, rewrote history, and used state resources to suppress dissent. By manipulating public perception, they managed to create a facade of legitimacy, making it harder for citizens to resist their authoritarian grip. Societal divisions and scapegoating. In both Germany and Latin America, societal divisions were exploited to justify authoritarian rule. The Nazis scapegoated Jews, communists, and other minorities for Germany's economic and social woes, claiming they were the root of all problems. This scapegoating provided a convenient target for public anger and helped unify a divided society under a dangerous ideology. In Latin America, authoritarian regimes often targeted political opponents, indigenous peoples, and other marginalized groups, branding them as threats to national security or cultural unity. This strategy of othering creates an us versus them mentality that allows authoritarian regimes to justify their oppressive policies. It's a chilling reminder of how easily societal divisions can be weaponized to erode democratic values. Dismantling democratic institutions. The fall of the Weimar Republic was marked by the systematic dismantling of democratic institutions. The Reichstag Fire Decree and the Enabling Act were used to eliminate civil liberties and concentrate power in Hitler's hands. By manipulating legal mechanisms, the Nazis were able to suppress opposition and transform Germany into a totalitarian state. Similarly, in Latin America, military coups often dissolved parliaments, censored the press, and crushed political opposition, claiming these measures were necessary to restore order. The destruction of democratic institutions highlights how authoritarian regimes often exploit legal and bureaucratic systems to establish control. Democracy, it seems, is not always overthrown with tanks and guns. Sometimes, it's dismantled with pens and decrees. Modern reflections and lessons. The lessons of the Weimar Republic have not been lost on modern democracies. An exhibition in Berlin titled Weimar, The Essence and Value of Democracy, emphasizes how fragile democracy can be and how easily it can be undermined by extremism. The exhibition serves as a stark reminder that democracy is a living, breathing entity that requires constant effort and vigilance to maintain. Similarly, in Latin America, the struggle between authoritarianism and democracy continues to shape political discourse. Many nations have transitioned back to democratic governance, but the scars of past dictatorships linger. These modern reflections urge societies to learn from history and remain vigilant against the forces that threaten democratic values. The danger of international inaction. The international community's initial hesitance to confront the Nazi regime and authoritarian regimes in Latin America serves as a grim warning. Appeasement and inaction often allowed these regimes to consolidate power, leading to devastating consequences. In Germany's case, the League of Nations proved ineffective in curbing Nazi aggression, while in Latin America, foreign powers often prioritized their geopolitical interests over democratic principles. This history underscores the need for a proactive and principled international response to emerging threats to democracy. In a world increasingly interconnected, the collapse of democracy in one region can have ripple effects globally, making the defense of democratic values a shared responsibility. The cycle of hope and despair. Despite the grim periods of dictatorship, both the Weimar Republic and post-colonial Latin America offer narratives of resilience. Germany's eventual transition to a stable democracy after World War II, and the democratic movements that emerged in Latin America during the late 20th century illustrate the enduring human spirit in the face of oppression. These cycles of hope and despair highlight the dynamic nature of political systems. Democracies can fall, but they can also rise from the ashes, provided there is a collective will to rebuild and learn from the past. This cyclical nature serves as both a warning and a beacon of hope. Democracy can be fragile, but it is not inherently doomed. Democracy's fragility. The Weimar Republic and post-colonial Latin America serve as cautionary tales about the fragility of democracy. Economic crisis, political polarization, societal divisions, and external pressures can erode democratic institutions, leading to authoritarian rule. However, these histories also show that democratic values can be revived and that the struggle for democracy is an ongoing process. Today, as we face new challenges, including rising populism, economic inequality, and global tensions, the lessons of the past are more relevant than ever. Safeguarding democracy requires vigilance, resilience, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. The past shows us that democracy's survival is never guaranteed, but it also reminds us of the power of collective action in defending the ideals of freedom, justice, and human dignity. History has a lot to teach us about the cycles of democracy and dictatorship. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.